Speaker of the House. He didn't make it. So I came in his stead. But it is interesting how much correlation there is and how much our lives cross, even in this room. So my wife and I were both in the military. I was in the 82nd also. We're fifth generation volunteers, all the way back to our grandparents and our son, who served in the same unit I did. So let's talk a little bit about education real quick. So we all heard about what's going on, CRT and the different things that are happening in our schools, diversity versus divisiveness, equality versus equity. And I call that social experimentation, right? We're turning our kids into these little test tubes that we want to test them on, right? We want to test them on these social issues, right? The problem we have is we have a product problem in our schools. A product we're producing isn't any good. And I'll prove that to you. I don't know how many of you ever heard of the Pew group. They're not left, they're not right. They look at mostly economic issues, but they also made a study of schools. They rated schools across the world. Now, how many think we finished in the top 5? How about top 10? How about top 20? And they looked at science, mathematics, and reading, and we weren't in the top 20 of any of them. Countries like Malta. I was stationed in Italy. I had to go look up where Malta was. If you know Italy and you know the little Sicily boot, Malta's like a dirt clod off of a cleat. Right? They're ahead of us, right? Macau. I've actually been to Macau. I traveled all over the world. I think you heard I speak Spanish. Sorry. And I've been to Macau. Macau is off the bay from Hong Kong. It's probably the size, it's an island, it's probably the size of Jordan Lake. And population 500,000. And 90% of that population is involved in the gambling industry. It is the Las Vegas of Asia, right? So, I mean, that just shows you that we have a long way to go. Our product just isn't there, right? The bottom line is we're just not that good. If you looked at the Pew study, now look at North Carolina. Our own study says North Carolina is about not even in the top 10 across the country in terms of production of what we're doing with our students. We're like number 15. Chatham County, by its own recollection, is like 38th county across the country. Less than 50%, even in our good schools, less than 50% can read and write and do math at a school level. That means half of our product is not meeting the standard, right? And this came very clear to me some years ago when I was with my employer, and we had to say, hey, we need some industrial engineers to come in and do some analysis in our factory. So I said, okay, I'll be part of that. And we had 25 applicants come in. And this is at NC State. 21 of the 25 were either Asian or Middle Eastern. 2 were from Latin America. And the 2 that were from the US weren't sure they were going to complete their degree. And the degrees the kids that had from Asia and from the Middle East, not only did they have an engineering degree, a lot of them had MBAs. And had worked for IBM or worked for Microsoft in internships, right? It was like, it wasn't even close to being competitive. Now let me tell you why this means something to us. How many here are boomers? Come on, you know you're a boomer, right? We're all boomers, right? So yeah, all my kids are done. We have, by the way, another intersection. We have 5 kids. 4 were adopted. But even for boomers, right? You say, I'm done with kids. My kids are gone, right? Well, let me tell you something. These people, these kids, are going to determine how you're going to retire. Will your Social Security be there? Will your 401k be worth anything? Will your pension be there, right? Will your health care serve you? Will you be able to go to a hospital and get served, right? And those sort of things matter, right? So let's think about it, right? So understanding, reading comprehension. Mr. Schmidt, thank you for coming in to UNC Hospital today. We successfully removed your gallbladder. Oh, but I was here for gallstones. Reading comprehension matters to everybody, right? It matters to all of us. So we all know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing, expecting the same result. You know what the definition of stupidity is? Recognizing that and doing nothing about it. Right? So I think that's probably, we have to get to that problem statement. Now, I'm new to politics. I've never been in politics, never really wanted to be part of politics, but when I see a problem, I have to say, the problem statement is, we're just not that good. We got to get better. I've been to these countries. I've been to China. You would be shocked. If you've never been to China, I would advise you to go. You'd be shocked how modern, their airports are all new. Example, real quick. if I don't take too much time. I was there 6 years ago. I rode the first high-speed train that they put in from Guangzhou to Wuhan. Everybody know that name, Wuhan, right? That's like going from Dallas to Chicago. That train did that in 3.5 hours. Interesting enough, just like I said, if I go too long, let me know. But that train, I got on that train and I rode it, and it made 5 stops. Every stop, and after you leave Guangzhou, Guangzhou is next to Shenzhen, next to Hong Kong, there's probably 100 million people in that area. But as soon as you leave Guangzhou, you're in the country. And their farming is, like you've always heard, 1 acre house, 1 acre house, 1 acre house, as far as the eye can see. You're going on this train, it's about 30 feet elevated in the air, it's a magnetic train. So it goes along, and all of a sudden you come in, it's like slowing down, and it stops, and you look around, it's all farmland and the train station. You know why it stopped there? That's the next big city. They already know they're going to put a city there in the next 5 years of 10 million people, and that's how they designed it. They are kicking our butts. And they're not doing it socially. It's not about social issues. It's about people that are ready to go and be leaders in the world. And that's what we need. We need to power our children so they can compete in that world. Not whether or not they can define the difference between equity and equality. So, my first time in politics, and I was raised that way, that politics is a difficult field, right? I'm a boomer, and my father taught me what Adlai Stevenson said. The things you do to get elected almost make you not worthy of the job, right? So I don't want to ask for your vote, and I don't want to ask you for your money. But I would tell you, if you're happy the way we're going in our country, if you're worried that we're going to lose the social battle with China, then keep what you got. But if you're not happy with that, we have to make change. We need change for our schools and our children to be competitive. Otherwise, we're going to get our butts kicked.